We're back from the ANCC Convocation.
But what on earth happened?
I'll tell you next on the Sonic Boomers podcast.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Maureen.
Welcome to another edition of the Sonic Boomers podcast, the show where we talk about the things that we pull off the top of our heads.
And sometimes that is somewhere else.
Now, what did you mean by that? And sometimes straight from the heart. Well, Maureen and I are excited because we're back from the biannual convocation of the American National Catholic Church, which is the church that Maureen and I have been a part of for over a decade now. Hard to believe that we've been there all this time. I think probably closer to maybe 11 or 12 years. We are former Roman Catholics, which is probably the largest religious group in the United States today, former Roman Catholics. Maybe for the sake of our viewers and listeners who don't know what the American National Catholic Church is, maybe you can just give a little thumbnail description.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people, when they hear Catholic, they just know Roman Catholic, and that's all that they know. What we've come to find out is that Roman Catholic is not the only way to be Catholic. And there are numerous denominations and churches throughout the world and throughout the United States who identify as Catholic, but do not bear allegiance to Rome.
Right.
And the American National Catholic Church is just one of these many jurisdictions.
Right. We don't follow the Pope. Now, Frank is a nice guy. Don't get us wrong, but he's not the boss of us.
Exactly. And so every 2 years, our American National Catholic Church has what they call a convocation. Now, when we tell people we went to a convocation, that's the second question we get is, what's that?
Yeah, see, I go because I thought it was coronation, and that's why I showed up.
Oh, yeah. You were ready to be crowned.
Imagine my disappointment.
Yeah. But the convocation, it's kind of like a convention, I guess, in a way. Ours happens to be every 2 years, and it's a chance where the representatives from all over the country get together and talk about where we've been, where we're going, and what's going on.
And it's a mix. When we say representatives, it really is a mix of clergy and also laypersons.
Exactly. Which it is kind of unusual, I think, as far as religious circles goes. You very seldom see the clergy and the lay people at the same time. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a unique thing that we have.
Yeah. Certainly we don't see it in the Roman Church. You know, they have their various enclaves, and it's all the big hoo-has that are going. It's not the laity that are going usually, but in our church, it's really a mix of clergy and laypersons. And
anybody can go.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a parish council president or a bishop or something. It's anybody in the ANCC that would like to attend these convocations can.
Yeah.
And they do. So that's really what we've been about. Now, the convocation for us takes place usually over 3 days. It's been down in Maryland at the Claggett Center. It's a beautiful facility. It's not like retreats where you're in these godforsaken places that are a little bit better than a jail cell.
There's a toilet down at the end of the hall. That's not this case.
This is like a 5-star hotel. I mean, you don't get room service, of course.
There are no televisions.
You have a nice clean room. You have your own private bath. It's air conditioned. It's heated. It's all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So don't let that stop you.
Fed breakfast, lunch, dinner.
And all that's included in the price that you pay to attend. We're starting off on Thursday.
When it all starts.
It starts late in the afternoon because everybody's traveling that day for the most part.
Yeah, for us, it was like 4 hours.
It was a 4-hour drive. But some people are flying, some people are driving. They're coming from all over the country. So it's really... starting it late in the day is kind of a necessity.
We have people coming in from as far out as California. Mm-hmm. You have people coming in from
New Mexico, Florida, Minnesota, all over the place. So it takes a while for everybody to get there, so we start late on Thursday. Now, Thursday, it opened with a welcoming ceremony. We had some opening remarks from the bishop and from one of our coordinators, Father Jim Jakubowski. And we were introduced to Father Ricky Manalo, who was going to be our keynote speaker. Now, Ricky Manalo, you may not know him by name, but you certainly know him by his works. He is a composer, and his works appear in a lot of the Oregon Catholic press materials. He's been recognized for his work in music, in theology, in culturization, diversity. He's won all kinds of awards, and we were so blessed and so fortunate to be able to have obtained him as our speaker for this convocation.
Yeah, I would say that he and 2 years ago when we had Dan Schutte, who is, I joke and say, if you look at your music book in a Catholic church, half the songs were written by Ricky Manalo and the other half were written by Dan Schutte.
They certainly are prolific. Let's put it that
very
way.
prolific. So for us to have these two guys, really, it was like we had like almost like rock stars in the field of Catholic liturgical music.
Mm-hmm. And so we were really so excited and so happy to be able to have him with us. Now, Thursday night, we all got together. We had evening prayer, we had dinner, and then Father Ricky took us did a little concert. Now, when I say concert, it's not concert like you would expect in a big arena. It was very intimate, and you got to sing along with him and share his music with him. He also is very engaging and very reflective. And what he did was kind of interesting. He took us through the liturgical year in music. So he started with Advent and did some Advent songs, and when it went into the next Christmas and Lent and throughout the year in song. And some of the songs were familiar and some of them were new ones that we learned. And the whole process was very moving, very reflective, but yet it was still a concert.
Right. And Ricky stayed with us for a good part of the weekend.
I think the whole weekend pretty much.
Before he had to fly back.
Yeah. So that was the first day of the convocation. The next one is early Friday morning. You wake up and they start
bright and early.
Bright and early.
Or in my case,
bright
not
and too
so
early.
bright and too early.
And we had a chance to have morning prayer and breakfast together. And then the real business kind of starts. We have the keynote by Father Ricky, who this time around, he was talking about how we can create communities that are diverse, that honor the cultures that we want, that are assembling together, and how to best integrate them in without being tokenism. And that was a real challenge, and it's something that you don't always think about, because you think you're doing a good thing when you say, "Oh, well, let's put a Spanish song in, or let's put this kind of, let's do gospel."
Yeah,
and
let's do something in Tagalog.
And you think, okay, we're being
inclusive, so we think,
and welcoming. But if that's the only time that you're doing that, what he's pointing out is that it's not getting you forward. It's not getting you where you want to go.
It's more of a token.
It is. And it's well-meaning. It's not meant, nobody's trying to do it that way. No. But, it took somebody that comes from a varied background, as Father Ricky does. He's Filipino, he's Chinese, he's American, he's been all over the world. He's got a lot of experience in various cultures, and sometimes it takes somebody from the outside looking in to point these things out for you. So that was the morning's keynote speaker. Then we had the amazing presentation of what was being done in the parishes throughout the country, and I know you really enjoyed that.
I did, and there are maybe 13, 14 don't hold us to the number, but ballpark figure would be 13, 14 American National Catholic Church parishes across the United States. And these parishes can be anywhere from a small handful of people acting as a parish to a larger group of maybe a couple of hundred people in a parish. But the amazing thing is that whether they are large groups or small groups, they are getting incredible work done in the name of social justice and in the name of people that are needy, people that are hungry, people that are struggling. But it was a really nice review of what our many parishes are doing. So you really got a broader idea of what the people of God are accomplishing.
And also gives you ideas for what maybe you could implement in your own parish, doing something in a different way or expanding a program that you already have. It was a very, very interesting and informative presentation.
Then there was Father Victor Ray, who was out of Florida, who gave just an awe-inspiring presentation.
Now, Father Victor had a near-death experience, I think a little over a year ago, that profoundly impacted his life.
I think he had a major heart attack or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
He went through incredible amount of medical and intervention and basically died on the table kind of thing. And yet he has vivid memories of what occurred when they were working on him. Some people might be skeptical because you hear these near-death stories and stuff. But if you could be in the room...
And there are similarities in many of them.
But if you could be in the room and see his eyes, see his face, and know the kind of guy that Father Victor is, it's hard to not believe in that.
No, you really know that he's not BSing you. He believes that he experienced what he says he experienced.
And there's some things that are just phenomenal and no explanation for. You have to go on faith. And it was just such an incredible story. And at the end, I don't think there was a dry eye in the place because it was just so sincere, so moving.
Yeah, you could hear a pin drop.
And that was one of the more memorable things that took place during this convocation. What's been different this time around with our convocation is that we have increased in the number of parishes people that are strictly Spanish speaking or for whom English is a second language. And so this time around, there was a concerted effort made to be inclusive and to be aware of their needs and to provide good information to them as well as to just the English-speaking crowd. And so for some of the talks, we split and they were able to have a Spanish speaker deliver the information, and the English-speaking people were in another room and they were getting it in their language. Yeah. Unfortunately, the Father Victor's speech was not given in Spanish because there was nobody that could really translate that. But for everything else, it was like a dual track system going on, and it really helped a lot as far as including the Spanish-speaking community and allowing them to experience what we all experienced at the convocation. So that was a very good addition. And that was the kind of thing that went on throughout the day.
Then, of course, there was a presentation given by you might say, the church management about the direction of the church, the finances of the church.
And a nice positive note is we incarnated a new priest into the ANCC, so he is now fully incarnated. He can practice as a priest and he will have his own parish down in Maryland. And we had about, I think, 3 or 4 seminarians who are in the seminary now studying to either be deacons or eventually priests. And then there was another maybe half dozen people who are what we would call seekers, inquirers, who feel that they might be having the call to ministry and they're investigating and learning. So those things were all shared with us as a body. And we had 2 masses during this 3-day extravaganza, and they were, full masses with lots of music and lots of participation.
Lots of music provided by us, we're happy to say. And we hope that those that were in attendance were also happy that we were providing the music and not thinking, why don't these people go the hell home?
I hope not. So that was kind of the convocation in a nutshell, really. Yeah. And the next one will be in 2 years. As soon as this one ends, they start planning the next one.
Start talking about the next one. By the way, we want to point out that in the American National Catholic Church, our priests are both men and women. We ordain men and women, and we have clergy who are straight. We have clergy who are gay. In the ANCC, that is a non-issue for us. We don't care if you're straight or gay. We don't care if you're a guy or a girl. We don't care what you identify yourself as. It's not what we are about. We're about people. We're about what we hope is God's work. We're about the kingdom of God, which we believe does not have these barriers. And it's a wonderful place to be. Our clergy are not salaried. They have real jobs, just like you and me. Mm-hmm. And we have clergy that are, one of our priests that I got to talk to over the convocation, I said to him, so what do you do in real life, so to speak? And he said, well, I'm a construction worker. And the guy is ordained,
Yeah.
and he's up there doing mass.
Yeah.
But he is a mason, and he does bricklaying and builds walls. And we were outside on the veranda chatting, and he was telling me about how exciting it is to be able to work with your hands and to be able to create and build things and work the big machines and stuff. And it was just fascinating. We have one of our priests is an IT guy. The head of the American National Catholic Church, Bishop George Lucy, is a clinical psychologist, I believe, is what his trade is. He's Dr. George Lucy.
Right.
And that is what he does for a living.
Yeah.
And then their side hustle, so to speak, is being clergy in the American National Catholic Church. So they're not living in a nice, comfy rectory somewhere. They don't have a laundress. They don't have a cook. And I think it makes a difference.
It does. They're real people living in the real world, and yet showing us by their example and their leadership how we all can be doing God's work.
Yeah. And in the ANCC, there is a path for anybody who even is a lay person. There is a path for you to become clergy if that's what you feel called to do. We have the ANCTI, right?
Right. The American National Catholic Theological Institute. And it's an online course is done via Zoom and allows you to get certified in various aspects of theology and pastoral ministry so that you can eventually either become ordained as a priest or a deacon, or just take it for your own edification.
Yeah. So I think we've about covered it, right? Oh, the music, of course. The music it's quite an undertaking. And it is something that Maureen and I have been asked to do, and we're very grateful to have been asked for a few of the convocations now. But it is a lot of music.
It is.
It's a lot of work, and it's work that we do gladly. But boy, what a whirlwind of activity. And so it wound up being 3 of us. Mm-hmm. But I think that even
It
with
was
3,
fine.
I thought it was, we were small, but we were mighty. We were a force to be reckoned with.
So so that was what we did.
Yeah. A lot of work, but at the end of it, when you see people singing and taking an active participation, it makes all of that work worthwhile.
It certainly does.
So we just, now the thing for Maureen and I is the next convocation will be in 2 years. We don't know if they're going to ask us to do the music. They may be, oh, not them again. And if they do ask us, we honestly don't know what the answer is going to be, because 2 years is a long way off.
It
so
is.
you never know. But we're not closing the door on it.
We're not ruling it out, and we're not saying yes.
Right. Check back with us in 2 years and we'll tell you. Hey, we want to thank you for checking out this edition of the Sonic Boomers podcast, giving us an opportunity to talk about something very near and dear to us, and that's the American National Catholic Church. If you're looking for more information about the ANCC, go to our national website, the ancc.org, and there's a wealth of information there. So, until we get together again here in the Yellow House studio, I'm Pete Torriello.
And I'm Maureen Torriello.
Goodbye, God bless you as always, and thank you for watching and listening to the Sonic Boomers podcast.